I'm Kasper,
And I'm Kate Hauser.
and this is our presentation on the college student and analysis. So we wanted to look at the potential relationships between college students' GPA and variables such as employment, number of hours slept, relationship status, and number of units being taken. The three questions we decided to address were: in a population of all college students, is mean GPA higher for unemployed students than working students? And then second, in a population of all college students, is the mean GPA greater than 3.0? And then third, in a population of all college students, is there an association between employment status and relationship status?
So for the issues that we needed to take into consideration for our variables, first of all, since relationship and employment status are measured only at the time the survey was taken, their potential impact on any other variables in the survey could be negligible. Second of all, since many people take 12 units to fulfill the unit requirement, our data will likely have a disproportionate amount of people taking 12 units. And then third, self-reported sleep averages might not be accurate or may vary widely.
So we conducted our survey with a sample size of 70 to do our research. And the way we did this is that we posted it on our social media pages, accounts, and we acknowledged that there was a convenience and self-selection sampling bias for this because it pretty much included our social media friends and followers. And we said that we only wanted college students to participate in the survey. And we used Google Forms to make the survey with a total of 5 questions. The first one being categorical, asking about during an average school week, how many hours of sleep do you generally get per night? And the categories we had were 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9, then 9 plus. Our second question was also categorical, asking if you are single, yes or no. Our third question, quantitative, asking what is your GPA. Our fourth question was quantitative, asking how many units you are taking this semester. And our fifth question was categorical, yes or no, do you work?
So for our first question, here's the results of our data collection. So the proportion for students who slept 5 to 7 hours was 0.614. For 7 to 9 hours, it was 0.3. 3 to 5 hours, it was 0.057. 9 plus hours was 0.014, and 1 to 3 hours was 0.014.
Honestly, I was very surprised there was anyone who did 1 to 3 hours.
Yeah, me too.
For are you single, we had 60% saying yes and 40% saying no.
And for what is your GPA, our mean GPA was 3.382 with a standard deviation of 0.47, and our minimum was 2 with our maximum being 4.
For how many units you're taking, our mean was 12.457 as predicted, with a standard deviation of 4.321. With a minimum being 1.5 and a maximum of 20.
And for the question, do you work, we had the proportion saying yes be 0.671, and the proportion saying no was 0.329.
So our first question to address for inferential statistics is mean GPA high for unemployed students and working students? So we decided to use difference of means for independent samples. However, our sample sizes did not fit the requirement for this test that both N1 and N2 are 30 or greater than or equal to 30 because the amount that said no were 23 and the amount that said yes were 47. So instead, we decided to assume both population distributions to be normal.
And so here's our descriptive statistics for mean GPA if it's higher for working students than unemployed students, and our x-axis is reported GPA, and our y-axis is whether they're working or not. So this is a box and whisker plot.
So these are independent samples because they have different sample sizes and because they come from various different people. Mean for having a job is 3.334 and no job 3.48.
And for our test for this question, we decided to so our null hypothesis for this question was that the mean of students who weren't employed was equal to the mean of GPA of students that were employed. And our alternative hypothesis was that the mean GPA of students that were not employed was greater than the mean GPA of students that were employed. And so we used the formula for difference in means for independent samples, and this gave us a test statistic of negative 1.304. And we used a t star of 1.717 because we had a t distribution with degrees of freedom 22 because we used the smaller sample size. And so when we put our test statistic in the t-distribution, we found a p-value of 0.104. And at a significance level of 0.05, we would not find these results statistically significant, and therefore we would fail to reject the null hypothesis. So here's our descriptive statistics for our second question. In a population of all college students, is the mean GPA greater than 3.0? So here we see that our mean GPA is 3.382 with a standard deviation of 0.47 and a sample size of n equals 70. So to address this question, we're going to use a test for a single mean. And here our null value is 3.0. So we are testing the null hypothesis is that the mean GPA is equal to 3.0, and the alternative hypothesis is that the mean GPA is greater than 3.0. So to find our t-statistic, we use this equation to find a value of 6.8. And when we put it into a t-distribution with degrees of freedom 69 for our sample size of 70, we find that our p-value is 0. So we would reject the null hypothesis at the 0.05.
Okay, so for our third question, in a population of all college students, is there an association between employment status and relationship status? We decided to use a chi-square test for association because the two variables consist of two categorical independent groups, and they're both yes or no questions. Are you single or do you work? So to do this, we put it into the chi-square test for association, and we found that our chi-squared test statistic is 3.389, and with the degrees of freedom being 1. And here we have our observed, expected, and contribution to chi-squared. So our chi-squared theoretical distribution, here we put our 0.389 in as our test statistic, and then that gave us a p-value of 0.533. And with this high p-value, we do not reject the null hypothesis because we do not find that there was an association between employment status and relationship status. Our null hypothesis was that employment status is not associated with relationship status, and our alternative was that it is associated with relationship status.
So for our conclusions, we concluded that for A, in a population of all college students, is the mean GPA higher for unemployed students and working students. We failed to reject the null hypothesis, meaning that we did not find evidence that mean GPA for unemployed students was higher than working students.
In a population of all college students, is a mean GPA greater than 3.0? We rejected this null hypothesis, meaning we found evidence in support of the alternative that the mean GPA of students in our sample is greater than 3.0.
And for our third one, in a population of all college students, is there an association between employment status and relationship status? We failed to reject the null hypothesis, meaning that we did not find evidence of an association between employment status and relationship status.
So for our discussion, in terms of what implications do our results have for the population we sampled and what could be done to improve the study if it was done again and what biases might exist, we had a lot of issues that we would do again differently in the future. So our sample data came mostly from people who we knew and who were friends. So there's a lot of bias in that sample since it is not random. So in the future, we'd probably have our survey be passed out to various classes of JC, reaching a more random population, larger numbers. And our sample data also cannot be generalized to Santa Rosa Junior College because we have data points from college students at various different colleges all over the United States. In order to generalize our data, we would need a lot larger sample size for the United States. So we can't really generalize our data to any sort of larger population. And so in the future, it would be interesting to look at those at a four-year university versus at a junior college because a lot more people work or have part-time jobs at junior colleges as opposed to four-year universities. So that'd be interesting to see the difference, whether an employment status between the two. And we also would differentiate in our survey whether there was part-time and full-time jobs, because that can make a huge difference in the amount of time that a person has to study. But we decided not to differentiate that because it would be a lot more difficult, we thought. But now, after having gone through this whole process, we realized it wouldn't be that much harder. So that concludes our study.
Also, just one other thing is for the sleep categories, we might have wanted to make them each number instead of in categories so that we could use it as a quantitative variable.
Yeah, that's another thing that we would prefer to have done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for watching our video. Have a good day.